Hey everyone, this is Chris and welcome to Unwanted Tutorials. Unwanted Tutorials is a loose collection of how-to, hands-on, decidedly irreverent videos in which I aim to enable you to create engaging content using DCS's hellish creation tools. This time we close down unit group management by looking at aircraft. Unit management is the make or break feature of a military mission editor, and we all know that DCS's mission editor doesn't pass muster, so we'll get straight into it. To create an air group, you first click onto the image of the jet fighter or helicopter on the left. For reasons unknown, mission editor differentiates between fixed wings and helicopters, but group management is the same for both. Remember that there is a completely unnecessary and in my mind idiotic set of rules at work that can restrict access to aircraft types, so I'm working to remove all these interface blunders. If you follow my advice here, you should gain access to all aircraft. I have clicked on the jet, but arranging a helicopter group works the same, which is to say that setting up a helicopter group is bug-to-bug compatible with jets. First, I check on the bottom that the historical filter, the awkwardly stylized chronograph, is turned off, while the Show Models tank icon is illuminated. I then choose Combined Joint Blue as country and set task to nothing, even if it doesn't take, like here. I hope against hope that one day it may work. As type, I choose the free SU-25T Frogfoot, so I type 2.5 into the type field. The list of available types shrinks, and I choose the SU-25T. If you can't see the 25T, make sure that the historical filter, the watch icon at the bottom, is disabled and Combined Joint is selected as country. Yellow text means that the plane can be controlled by players, although I've heard that Mission Editor only turns it yellow if you also own the module. I don't know. Now that we have chosen the type, we are ready to place the group's first unit. Since I want to place the aircraft close to Senaki-Kolkhi's airfield, I pan and zoom the map using mouse wheel and right click. Now I click into the map and a blue symbol for the Frogfoot appears. Next, I click into the Edit button at the bottom right to enter waypoint edit mode. Mission Editor has silently changed into Add Waypoint mode in a pathetic attempt to be smart. My advice to Eagle Dynamics: don't try to be smart when your team seems to come from the talent shelf's very bottom. Note the controls below type. The skill setting not only chooses AI skill level. If you want a player to control a unit, use a skill setting of client here. I'm using veteran. Ignore the silly tail number controls and frown at the radio settings. Note that you should only ever mess with radio settings if your group includes players, and in that case be advised that if you do change radio settings here, bugs in Mission Editor can render your mission unsavable. I recommend that you better not mess with radio settings for aircraft. Don't be mad. Who needs radios in aviation anyway, right? At least not with DCS's version of ATC and AI you don't. Aircraft spend their life in the air and can start life on the ground. Mission Editor packages where and how aircraft spawn into their waypoint management system. That I'll cover in a different video. Since it is relevant here, we do look at the group's first waypoint though. So let's make sure that we are on the waypoint tab. It's the red tab that vaguely looks like an inverted Steam logo. There's another control here that is called type, by itself a colossal UX blunder. That control currently is set to turning point. For the very first waypoint, this allows us to set how the aircraft spawns into the game. We have turning point and flyover point. These two cause the aircraft to spawn in the air, usually with enough speed and altitude to sustain flight. take off from runway, take off from ramp, take off from parking hot. These cause the aircraft to spawn on the ground, from the start of the currently active runway or from one of the parking slots or hangars. Note that from ramp and from parking means the same, except that if we have from parking hot, from ramp should better be called from parking cold, as that is what it means. The aircraft spawns on a parking slot. Landing means that the aircraft spawns in the air, midway over the runway at dangerously low altitude and at high speed heading due north. This option is literally a clown show, as it makes no sense whatsoever. A real landing option would position the aircraft with suitable elevation, heading and speed at a 3-mile final. The mere availability of this option shows that whoever works on Mission Editor and everyone in quality assurance know exactly nothing about aircraft, or this option would have disappeared in an embarrassed heartbeat over a decade ago. What a pathetic way to show your real expertise, Eagle Dynamics. To me, it is this kind of obvious trash that reveals DCS for what it really is. But I digress. Take off from ground hot. These cause the aircraft to spawn anywhere on the map from ground. It is only available for player-controlled fixed wings, all helicopters, and the Harrier that sadly is no longer available as player-controlled aircraft. I choose the default setting turning point, meaning that the aircraft spawn in the air. Looking further down, we see that altitude is set to 2,000 meters, some 6,600 feet, and 650 kilometers per hour, that's 350 knots. So, let's set up this group of aircraft. I want this group to contain 6 aircraft, so I click 5 times into the plus button This time, the air group's clone control has changed appearance. There no longer are plus nor minus buttons. The clone control has been streamlined, yet it is still filled to the brim with stupid, idiotic UX blunders. The clowns at Eagle Dynamics managed to remove the least clownish interface elements, plus and minus buttons, and left the chevrons. These chevrons work like they do for naval and ground units. To add a unit, click on the right-pointing chevron in the Number of Units box. That will copy the currently selected unit and add the copy as the last unit and then select that new unit. The real problem is with the left-pointing chevron in Number of Units. It removes the last unit in the group and ignores which unit you have currently selected. And remember, no undo. So, in order to add 5 more aircraft, I first select the first and only unit and then click the right pointing chevron 5 times. Only to realize that aircraft groups are limited to 4 units. There's no reason given. It just is. Air groups can't have more than 4 units. It's a completely arbitrary bullshit number, but that's Mission Editor to you. So okay, I can live with 4 units. Let's arrange the flight into delta formation in a V shape. I can't seem to position unit 4, nor 3, nor 2. I can position unit 1, and that moves the entire group. Yeah. In DCS you cannot set up initial group formations for aircraft. You know, the Eagle Dynamics version of realism and quality. Alright, that's bad, but let's move on. I want my group to consist of 3 Su-25T ground attack aircraft and 1 Su-27 to ride shotgun. I select the last unit in the group and change its type to an Su-27 flanker, and all units now change to flanker, which you can see by all the alphas in the unit symbols for attack having turned into Foxtrot for fighter. Yes, in DCS all units in an air group must be of the same type. Since there is no undo, imagine how much time we'd have lost if we already had set up each unit's loadout. So I changed the unit's type back to SU-25T and all 4 units in the group changed to SU-25T. To close down aircraft group management, I now set up each unit's loadout individually. To do so, I select the first unit on the map and then I click into the orange loadout tab. The view changes from map to a front aircraft view with a table filled with strange symbols beneath. Now, before we continue, another reminder that Mission Editor has no quality built in and will not help you in one of the most important tasks for a military flight sim, weapon selection. You, dear content creator, must know what each weapon is and what components are required for it to work. And of course, you are expected to know their names by heart. Directly below the aircraft is a row of empty boxes labeled from 11 down to 1. These represent the various weapon stations on the aircraft, and here you can apply your in-depth knowledge of weapons to equip this aircraft. To set a station, right-click into a box and then follow the menus that pop up. Here I right-click into Station 6, choose Pods and select the Mercury LLTV pod. Don't know what it's for? Sucks to be you, I guess. If you are what Eagle Dynamics may consider to be a loser who doesn't know all weapons by heart, not even what distinguishes an aphid from an archer missile, you can choose the wimp way of outfitting an aircraft. In the bottom third of the screen here are predefined loadouts. The names won't tell you what these loadouts are for, and I guess the user interface pros at Eagle Dynamics think that the weapons designations already speak for themselves. Just remember that the pre-configured options that are available to you are tied to the group's task. So to get access to all pre-configurations, make sure that the group's task is set to nothing. Remember how we initially set this group's task to nothing? Yeah, it didn't take, so I reset it again. Note how more presets have become available. Yes, Mission Editor is that bad. To choose a loadout, simply click on any line and that entire loadout is copied to the aircraft, completely overwriting anything that was there. Oh, and never right-click into any of the pre-configurations. If you do, and this is not a joke, you can accidentally and persistently change a preset that, to restore to factory defaults, requires a complete DCS reinstall. Yeah, Eagle Dynamics quality. I click on the very first line to copy this preset to the first Frogfoot unit, check the weights and miscellaneous stuff on the right side to make sure that we aren't overburdened. Also, note that this is where you can control the unit's individual paint scheme. Just for the sake of it, I'm changing the paint scheme to Hellenic Fictional. Looks okay, so let's set up the next plane. I could use the clown control to advance to the next aircraft, but if I learned anything in flight school, it's to always sweat the details. I click on the Steam icon to return to map view and click on the second unit, then click on the loadout tab, then select the third line from the top. It's not as if anything that I can say here will illuminate what this loadout is for. Mission Editor won't help you here, and unfortunately I can't, except pointing out just how rock bottom the user experience is. Glancing to the right shows us that we are slightly overweight with this configuration, so I'm reducing internal fuel to 70% until the total weight drops below 100%. Finally, I changed the paint scheme for this aircraft to SU-25 test scheme. Alright, all other units are configured similarly, and I believe that you got the gist of it. To sum up, in aircraft groups, skill client makes the aircraft controllable by players. All units in the group must have the same type. The group can have at maximum 4 units. Formations can't be set via UI. The way units spawn is controlled by the initial waypoint's type. Individual loadout and paint schemes is controlled for each unit via the loadout tab. Bottom line, group editing in Mission Editor is near fatally flawed. I believe it is the main reason that, even though we have many gifted content creators, we currently average less than 1 good mission per year. I can point out Mission Editor's failures all day long. If Mission Editor doesn't improve, DCS's demise will be difficult to stop. We need good content, and to create that, we need good tools, not trash like this. These videos try to prepare you, but we can only get so far. Hopefully, the kind people at Eagle Dynamics get their act together, hire some talented people, and improve these tools before DCS's decline turns into a full tailspin. So, let's keep up the happy thoughts and look forward to our next outing. Until then, thank you for taking the time and take care.